Hello everyone. Now you will hear a brief retelling of the movie Six Player Enjoyable Viewing. The high school basketball team is played by the Tyler Fizluk brothers asked his son Antoine to stop kicking the ball into the parking lot. The team is down by 1 point, and the man says the last throw should make it lower. Kenny Aika's son forever wrote mom on the poster. Baby didn't stop at the ring, but he doesn't believe in himself and passed back to his talented brother. However, he failed to score the ball, and the team lost. The upset boy doesn't understand how he could have missed. Mr. Tyler reminds his sons to always play with passion and dignity, and if the brothers always stick together, then everything will become possible. Separately, his father talked to Kenny and asked him to believe in himself and his strength past the years of the Tyler brothers, main stars of the university team. Thanks to their efforts, the Washington Huskies will be able to become champions for the first time in the last 10 years. During halftime, the team's mascot was injured and passed out. Coach Pedersen gives the setups.
If they break the bill, I'll send you back to Siberia to eat ice. It doesn't matter how Serbia coach throws it.
Should have intercepted the ball and fed it to Antoine. He made a slendang. The mother congratulates her sons and says that the father would be very proud of them. In the evening, the whole team gathered in the bar. Kenny is exchanging glances with the girl, and then his full glass is overturned by some disgusting fat guy of beer, spilling all over the counter. Going straight into the handbag of the smiling stranger, Kenny can only apologize and leave. At the same time, Antoine got into the ring for an argument, standing with his back to him with his eyes blindfolded. He was approached by Cheryl, unhappy that the guy is her dynamite, but Antoine is in first place. Now the competition. But okay, things are not so smooth with girls right now. To prove otherwise, he bet his brother that he could get the phone number of absolutely any girl. Here Antoine pointed to that same stranger. The girl realized what was going to happen now and simply left the establishment. She didn't run away from Kenya itself. Strange that such a talented player turned out to be so clumsy. The girl gave her name R.C. St. John and left Kenya alone one Soviet. They're Tyler. Don't argue if you can't win. And it turns out that R.C. is the new journalist at the student newspaper. And she gave Kenya a compliment in the last article. Today Huskies have an important game with 4 minutes left. They win 2 points. The Huskies are getting closer to the championship. NC Kenya committed a foul, and after 2 free throws the Huskies went on the attack. Kenny gave it to Pasta and he made a slendang in the usual way. Right at that moment something happened to him and the basketball player fell to the floor. Antoine was put on a stretcher and taken off the court. He promised bra. Kenya is very worried about him to return. Already on the street, Antoine's pulse began to disappear, and in the ambulance his heart and the guy stopped. They began to resuscitate the Huskies lost, but Kenny didn't have time for this. He hastily changed clothes to go to the hospital, but the coach entered the locker room with a sad face and reported that Antoine died on the way to the hospital. Heart attack. OK was hugged by the whole team. After that, the Huskies fell 4 consecutive defeats. Kenny can't pull himself together. He is taken out by reporters. Left alone on the platform, he addresses Antoine out loud and says that he can't handle it himself. He needs his brother's help. I went to the guy to express my condolences. Kevin complains that everyone is constantly harassing him about Antoine's death. The manager still hopes they can make it to the major leagues, but for that, it's time to start winning. He scolded Serbian Ziggy Herbacik for trying to make a 3-pointer and never succeeding. An unhappy Kenyan tossed the ball up and back. For some reason he never came back. Coach Peterson backs Kenya but warns he may have to be replaced before the end of the season. But he's an important link. If he comes together, he can save the team. Pedersen needs a leader. Kenny, according to him, still plays with his brother in his heart. The Huskies are down 12 points next game, and the worst player today, Kenny Tyler, suddenly the guy heard a whisper giving him advice. The ball suddenly returned to itself, where neither he threw it into the ring, but the opponent's ball jumped out of the ring. Even though it flew straight into it 7 seconds before the end of the match, the Huskies are 1 point behind. The opposing team has the ball, and suddenly it flies out of the hands of the basketball player, like a cannonball. Tyler makes a pass, but the ball on a strange trajectory falls directly into the basket. Their Huskies earned 3 points to win the match. "Great game, brother," heard the whisper again. "Ken is not in the locker room. I'm next to you. Don't you really recognize me?" In the shower, the taps opened by themselves, and Antoine emerged from the water. Kenny tried to convince himself he was delusional, but suddenly his brother grabbed him from behind and hit the ghost failed. Antoine reminds his brother of his father's words. If they are together, anything is possible. Apart from Kenya, no one sees him because he called him, and his brother needs to get used to it, because they will fight for the championship. Kenny is now constantly distracted by his brother's jokes, and from the outside it looks very strange. The ghost doesn't lag behind him for a minute and every time. Embarrassing the game today is equal major was already running over the line, but Antoine threw him straight to the basket. The other time, he covered Herbakzik to keep opponents from scoring. Antoine just sits on the ring and constantly throws the ball aside. Even with such tricks, the game turned out to be even. As always, everything will be decided in the last seconds. Kenny began to push his brother. RC understands that something is wrong with him. Antoine decided that everything should. Fathers and swept across the court. Gave Poe to Kenya, who threw the ball into the basket in the style of his brother. With the win, the Huskies finally made it to the major leagues. True, in the locker room, Ken's strange behavior does not raise questions. The players decided that he was just crazy with grief. Kenny approached Orsi, but according to her, her company is already an invisible person. In light of recent events, he did not even realize at first that it was a joke. Receiving an invitation for a date, the journalist started a conversation about the game. It all seems supernatural. Players hang in the air for 6 seconds, and the ball flies along some wild trajectory. Suddenly, Antoine Kenny climbed out of the pool, first screaming in fear, and then began to talk to the ghost. What does he see? RC thought. Antoine advises not to mess with the journalist. She will definitely smell something. But, according to Kenny, his brothers are just jealous of him. That same thing now shines on a girl only from horror movies. For these words, Antoine took Kenny to the stranglehold right in the middle of the street and continued to torture him in front of the basketball players. Convinced that their star definitely drove the geese and demand that Kenya explain. But taking doesn't stop, and the weirdo still looks strange. In the end, he says it's all his brother Antoine, and getting some air. He asks the ghost to appear in front of the others, so that they believe. Kenya throws the ball low to Denis, and tells him to make a slam dunk. Antoine would help him jump. Danny ran away, then took off and flew to the basket. Everyone was amazed, but not enough to believe the ghost. Then Antoine arranged a natural poltergeist for them and appeared on the big screen. Mascot 15 times during the season tried to get into the ring, but for him it again ended with injury. McCluskey's Major League Game 1 today, Chief RC sat down with her and says she needs a career break. And something strange is happening with the team, and Kenny is definitely involved, with whom she has become close. If she tried, she could make the cover of the sports news. Antoine demands that his brother give the pass to the Serb, and he earned 3 points and everything worked out for the blonde. This is his first successful attempt out of 13 shots. A brawl broke out on the court when the opponent remembered Kenya's brother. The shit was about to make a free throw. Antoine got into him, and with all his might, forces the ball under the dome. The next time Antoine got into the ball and demanded that the shit don't poke him in the eye, scared, he just threw the ball away and ran away. The Huskies won, okay? Didn't score as many as 36 points in the game. The team celebrates in the locker room. Ake did not go on a date with Sarsi. The girl is trying to find out what is the secret of his incredible game. As always, Antoine interfered in his brother's personal affairs. He doesn't like the journalist in Kenny's toilet looking between his legs. He demands that he not come out when not asked, especially on a date. Another man misunderstood him. Antoine continues to take out the younger one and generously pours his dish with hot sauce, and then pours water on thirsty yes. The strange date came to an end. Kenya already wanted to kiss Arsini. but with a sharp face he buried himself in his brother's palm. Twitching, he still beat Antoine and pecked the girl on the cheek, and then again on the lips. Kenny had an argument with his brother, and the coach came out and asked who he was talking to. Antoine stops grumbling and eventually, offended, left his brother, kicking the fisherman out of the picture. But he didn't really leave his brother anywhere. The Huskies are doing great in the championship. On one occasion, Antoine even had members of the opposing team stuffed each other's Husky faces approaching the final. During the next game, Antoine asks his brother to listen to him. Coach, in addition, he entered Luther and violated his body. The rules of the game had to be changed. Luther wants Antoine to walk away from him, and Kay doesn't tell his brother that he has lost his mind and is already hurting the team. Though, of course, the Huskies won again by 19 points. McCluskey demands that RC get information about the unusual team. And at this point, reviewing the recording of the game, she noticed that Luther did not even touch the ball during the throw. She also read lips that the player mentioned the dead Antoine. The team arrived in New York for the final games. The guys came to talk to Kenny. They no longer want to see Antoine on the team. He doesn't let anyone play just like they did in life. The ghost went crazy and began to smash the number. Antoine tells the basketball players that they are ungrateful. Kenny's last word, Jimmy, brother, if he wants to play, let him play. Kenny decided that it was time to tell everything about Russia, and here it was McCluskey with the sports journalists. She was called to herself, but the girl still did not want to give away the secret of her boyfriend, and threw the sensational article in the trash. The Huskies reached the semi-finals. The team's mascot jumped 17 times towards the ring, and this time Antoine still saved the poor guy and interrupted his string of injuries. The dogs are pitted against college star Smith. He mentioned his brother. The team can't stand Smith. He's torn. Antoine got angry and threw Smith into the basketball shield. The star was injured and his team lost. The Huskies are in the final. Kenny came to see Smith at the hospital for a concussion and a broken collarbone. Artie guessed it was Antoine's doing. He is dead, but he still commands his brother. Kenyan came to the dressing room before the game to talk to Antoine. He asked him to stay on the bench today. Kay wasn't tired of 4. Antoine recalls that they were always partners and dreamed of a championship. But I think Kenna has been on the receiving end all his life. He was in his brother's shadow. If Antoine goes out on the court today, they just won't play. Antoine got angry and left. The coach inspires the guys and asks them to give it their all. They are undisputed favorites. 3 of the Minutemen team future NBA stars expected Huskies lose from the beginning, although they try very hard. The first half ended with a score of 42-22. Guys are upset, it seems. They really are no one without a ghost they can't beat, but the hands are not of a different opinion. They, of course, should return to the court by Santuan, but in their hearts with the understanding that he gave the team a ghost. Hearing the word of his brother, shed a tear. The Huskies began to play back with great enthusiasm. Commentators note the phenomenal play of Kenny Ziggy throws a 3-pointer with 2 minutes left in the game. As the Huskies lose only 4 points, they almost expired 17 seconds and a 2-point lead by Uminit Menov. They move to a tight defense. 7 seconds ball name. Manov, but during a pass, Kenny intercepts the ball and rushes to the basket. He makes a shot from behind the 3-point line, and at that moment Antoine appears to protect his brother, but Kenny asks him not to touch the ball, and the ghost disappears, and no help is needed. The ball went into the basket, and the Huskies became champions. As everyone celebrated the victory, Antoine waved to his brother and headed toward the light. He admits that it would. But Kenya's victory, and he only prevented him before leaving, Antoine reminded the younger one, and with his father's words, he wished him to become champion next year. Later, Kenny looks towards the light, and the coach asks him, "This is our 6th player." Yes. Kenny answers A and K to the end.